September call-ups are near. Which top prospect is going to get a cup of coffee before the season ends and make an impact on your fantasy team? Find out today.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics. I am Matthew Ahne, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, coming at you 5 days a week to help you win your leagues. So please be sure to like, comment, rate, and review, and most importantly, subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use the code Locked On to get $10 when you trade 10. All right, we got a really good show for you today. We're going to be talking about prospects and which ones could possibly get the call for the September call-up. Why I like these kinds of episodes is because, these prospects can actually make an impact on your roster if they hit right off the bat. And that's a key part, right? Which player can I add to help me win and increase my playoff probability, right? So there is some good names and some guys that can potentially turn, and then there's some question marks of whether they're even worth a stash or things like that. So I'm going to get into it, kind of break down and get through the fog to help you navigate which players are worth stashing at this moment. We're going to open up with Kade Anderson, who I feel is the most obvious player to get the call. They traded Luis Castillo during the trade deadline. They freed up some space there, and he's been absolutely dominant in the minors this year, which is absolutely impressive. And I think that he's kind of pretty much MLB ready. Yes, he's in AA, but I don't think he needs to, whiff AAA at this moment. He has 87 innings pitched, 128 strikeouts, a 1.13 ERA with a .65 whip, just absolutely crushing it out there. And he has just great stuff. After, killing it in college last year and just absolutely obliterating the competition, and already pitching 120 innings last year in college, generally says that he can handle the workload needed. So I think that there's not going to be any innings concerns with him. What also kind of tells me that is he's also just kind of cranking out and just performing at such a high level that he's kind of forcing their hand as to making room for him on that roster. So I don't think it's going to take much. I think it's just really just a matter of, when is that perfect window where they could still retain the rookie eligibility, and when also a, rotation spot kind of opens up. Obviously for Kade, I feel like he's already starting to get owned at a pretty high rate. I know in a lot of leagues that I'm playing in, people have already beaten me to the punch because Kade Anderson is such a an eyes wide open kind of prospect of, hey, when is he going to be called up? So, let me just find out the ownership percentage here. Here we go. Kade Anderson. He's already 22% owned on Yahoo. So, and I suspect as we get closer to September, it's going to rise. Like, we're already at August 10th. It's not going to take much to kind of push this over to the edge. Kade Anderson is a mustache at this point. I'll be straight with you. I don't think there's a question of if he's going to get called. It's a matter of when. The only thing I could possibly see stopping him is if, start seeing some arm fatigue or things like that, or starts giving up a couple back-to-back blow-up starts, then possibly that might hamper his opportunity. But I don't foresee that happening with the ERA that he's posting on the season. So, yes, let's move on. So about Walker Jenkins. So, Walker Jenkins, prospect for the Minnesota Twins. Another one that's kind of been in the minors for a bit. He's 21 years old. Has been with the team since 2023. Has seen quite a bit of promotion, this year at A, moving all the way up to AAA, and just doing what he needs to do. Posting 8 home runs to 234 at bats, 20 ribs, 11 stolen bases, batting .299. What I do like about his game is he hit 6 home runs in AAA this year. Is known for, power and things like that. If you look at what his grade is for his game power, it's 35 out of 50, all power 45 out of 55. I don't think he's going to be like a stalwart, like super home run hitter. I think he's probably going to be more of like a 25 to sometimes 30, which more like 27 home run seasons with, a decent amount of stolen bases, probably about 20, hitting for average. Pretty good prospect. I actually got to see him play at the Futures game. It was pretty awesome. Played pretty well. I like Walker Jenkins. Um, I think that, am I stashing him? Maybe. He's kind of one of those players I'm not really like running out to go and stash because the ceiling I feel is a little bit capped. I don't think he's going to have this stalwart power, like I said, and therefore, like the upside, I think is limited. I think season long next year is a different conversation. In the interim, to risk a player that doesn't have such a high ceiling to kind of come out and make a difference on my team, very slim. So like 12 teams and shallower, I'm probably not touching him. Anything deeper, yeah, Jenkins is kind of like a stash because now you're getting a player that's going to improve your lineup and that kind of aspect. So again, higher priority in 14 team leagues, lower, not so much. Now here's one that I'm really interested in. Okay. It is Mike Sirota of the LA Dodgers, another prospect that I feel has just been all anybody can talk about at this point, right? Sirota is already 2% owned by Yahoo, which again, very low. But there is a possibility, I'd say 35 to 40% chance that he has the opportunity to get the call. Why? Right? Because there's a lot of arguments as to why he wouldn't. One, not in risk of Rule 5. Um, not on the 40-man roster yet. No need to protect him with that. So there is those aspects of the correlation. Plus, I mean, you look at DePaula and he's outperforming Sirota in certain aspects. But what kind of is in Sirota's favor is one, he's 23 years old, played in college, and he also is a really good fielder. So that also kind of comes into play of when players are going to get called as well. And when you think about it, right, we think just fantasy baseball aspect of it, right? Like, oh, they're a good bat. This guy's a better bat. Why won't he be called up? But also in real baseball, though, they got to factor in, okay, can this guy play the field? Can he actually be an everyday contributor? Can we keep him in the lineup every day? So this is that kind of key part of the difference, everything I feel between DePaula and Sirota. About DePaula later, but Sirota, I feel like, has the opportunity. On top of that, he's just been playing out of his absolute mind. That's another part that kind of screams, hey, I'm going to get the call. We look at like, what Kurtz has done to get himself thrusted up and others like that, where they just start playing absolutely out of their mind and we just start seeing them take off and then boom, they're up in the bigs. And the guy's just been crushing it and is in double A already, may not need a triple A stint. We've seen it with players with like Soto and others that just jump all the way up and just come up at the end of the season and that are everyday players and contributors. I think Sirota is one of those. On top of that, I mean, it's not like he hasn't seen a lot. Like he played for, Northeastern and NCAA. He's done he's played plenty of baseball, and I don't think he needs to prove himself anymore in the minors. The only problem really becomes is what does that lineup look like, right? So Sirota plays essentially, center, right, and left, so he can play anywhere in the outfield, which kind of gives him a little bit of flexibility when it comes to, okay, where does he fit into the lineup, right? So as we break down the Dodgers lineup and who's in the outfield right now, well, Payoss has just been phenomenal, so we know he's not taking his spot. You have essentially Teoscar Hernandez, who's not really having a good season. Is a good glove, though. And then in right field, Kyle Tucker, who they're paying a whole bunch of money to. So I think if anything, he's going to take Teoscar's spot because they need a better bat. They're going to try and make a push. They could possibly see if Sirota could come in and take that spot. Now, an injury will also kind of thrust him up there. Not that I'm wishing anybody to get hurt, but that'll also kind of drive it. And then lastly, he keeps getting hotter. We see tomorrow or next week, hey, he's getting, promoted to AAA. Then I think the likelihood of him getting called up goes from like 35 to 40%. to 40 to 50% just because now he's starting to make a progress. He's been performing such high levels already in the minor leagues. I feel it's already proven the fact he needs to be in the bigs. So it's just one of those things where I feel like Sirota could get the call. It's not guaranteed. And so I'm putting it at that, 35 to 40% at this current moment. But there is still a possibility. September call-ups are a thing, and they may not want to wait. And he'll still retain rookie eligibility if he maintains, if they keep him down for another week or two, and then that cup of coffee, here we go. So just keep an eye out and keep your eye on Mike Sirota. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about Joshua Baez of the St. Louis Cardinals prospect and DePaula from the Dodgers coming up right after this. More baseball season means a little more this year with Kalshi. Kalshi is America's #1 prediction market platform. You can trade on every single MLB game throughout the season, whether you're following your favorite team, watching a playoff race, or checking out the games that night. Kalshi gives you a different way to make your predictions follow the action. On Kalshi, you're trading against your peers in a live market, meaning no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Download the Kalshi app and use the code Locked On to get $10 when you trade 10. It's KALSHI, Kalshi, trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility required. Apply. And event contract trading involves some risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Kalshi's products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Can we talk about the most important, underrated organ in your body, your liver? I treat that thing like a piece of garbage. So this is important conversation. It's your body filters, processes everything you consume and performs more than 500 functions every day. It plays a role in things like energy production, digestion, fat metabolism, vitamin storage. So you give your liver a daily support can be important to part of building a healthy habits. Dose for your liver is clinically backed by liver health supplement designed to support your daily liver function. And unlike other capsules or powders, Dose comes with a liquid 2 once daily shot that tastes like fresh squeezed orange juice. It has zero sugar, zero junk, and zero calories. For me, the biggest thing about daily wellness routine is keeping it simple. Between work, baseball, family, and everything else going on, something that only takes a few seconds is a whole lot easier than actually sticking with it. A quick 2 ounce shot that can fit right in my normal morning routine without adding anything complicated step to your day. Ready to give your liver support it deserves? Head to dosedaily.com/lockedonmlb or enter Locked On MLB to get 35% off your first subscription. Head to dosedaily.com/lockedonmlb. Your body does much more for you, and let do something for it. That's dosedaily.com/lockedonmlb for 35% off your first month subscription. And normally I'd mention the Everydayers Club, but unfortunately, Dom and I are bozos and missed the deadline to join the reshaping of things, but we will be getting it back shortly. So stay tuned for updates on that, and stay tuned for an announcement at the end of the show regarding the Listener League. Let's get back into it. We were talking about Mr. Joshua Baez of the St. Louis Cards. And Baez is another guy that I actually really like, but he does have some, what's the word I'm looking for? Some smellies. Let's go with that. So Baez is a big bat, cranking out home runs. Has hit his 33rd home run of his AAA season this year, and has been really good, like really good this season. He's one of those guys that are kind of like, how isn't he called up? But because he has a little stinkies, I think is what's been preventing him. But there's a couple key nuances that come with Baez, and I'm going to get into it all. But for starters, Let's talk about the performance and why I could see him getting called just based off that. When a guy comes out and hits a bunch of home runs, is having crazy home run months where he's just like, oh, I'm going to hit 9 this month. I'm going to hit 7 this month. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It automatically puts you on the radar of, can he get the call? The other factors that come in when it comes to Baez is truly just, where he stands in terms of, you know, how easy the transaction is while also maintaining, rookie status, right? So he was already being protected from Rule 5 by going on the 40-man roster. So it makes it a lot easier to get him up and on a roster because they don't have to do any transaction issues. So they don't have to designate down to get him onto the 40-man roster. That's step one. Step two, it gives him another, right-handed power bat in the outfield. I love it. And he's just demonstrating he can hit for power. The biggest annoying part about him is he swings at literally everything, and he has a strikeout percentage of just disgustingness. Don't like that part about him. But that big power bat could, pay dividends, in all honesty. Like, I do strongly feel like he's still worth, having on your roster and, for them to call him up. I mean, you look at Baez, game power 50 out of 60, raw power 60 out of 70. You don't really see 60 out of 70 in a lot of these prospect grades. So it just speaks volumes that he's really fast, 250 out of 40, and has a great glove. He's doing everything you expect him to do. And the craziestness is when you start breaking down, okay, if you go to like month by month, which I would love for them to actually show me, which they're not going to, okay. But like he's just like ranking it out. He's just seeing and making good choices. I just hate that he's going to essentially just swing at everything and just destroy your batting average. But I mean, at this point, it's so worth it. Imagine picking up a guy. Think about it. Picking up a player that comes up, has power upside already off the bat, it probably played a full season and hit 40 home runs. And now you're going to pick him up at the end of the season and get a push. This is the kind of player you kind of try to add, in all honesty, even with his disgusting strikeout percentage of 29.3%. Now, it's not atrocious. We've seen batters be successful with 27% strikeout percentage. So will he get the call? Probably. I think there's a 60 to 70% chance he gets the call. Age, performance, need, transactionally, he's there. There's a lot on Baez's side to get the call, which then therefore leads to me feeling like he's going to get. And for me, I'm on the side of him getting the call. Probably going to happen. All right. Before I come back and circle back to DePaula, I got one more thing for you, and I'll come back and hit you with the rest. Okay. Before we get into today's show, it's time for the Everydayers Icon presented by Stan. As an official stock partner of the MLB, Stans knows greatness isn't built in a single moment. It's earned time through consistency, preparation, and showing up every day. That is why we recognize the player performance and embodies those who make the same qualities. This everydayer icon is Kyle Schwarber. When you think about a player who consistently shows up, puts the work in, and gives the team the chance to win every day, he fits the description perfectly, whether it's at the plate, on the field, or someone on his team counting on him throughout all season long. The consistency is what makes him this week's everyday icon. The everyday icon is presented by Stance. Check out the icon collection from Stance Premium Comfort, performance, and durability design for whatever your day brings. Use the promo code Locked On at checkout for 20% off your first purchase. Stance, the official sock partner of the MLB. Learn more at stance.com. So look, I am back, and I'm ready to talk about Mr. DePaula. Um, Jose DePaula, likelihood of him getting called is slim. I'm going to be honest. Um, when I think of DePaula, yes, he's playing absolutely out of his mind. He's probably a better bat than Sirota, but it's just one of those things where I don't see things really being on his side. I still think there's probably about a 25% chance, but it's slim. So he will need to be added to the 40-man roster in the winter. So it's not like something immediate. Um, because then he will be Rule 5 draft eligible. But I think likely he'll just be added to the 40-man roster and probably kept down and promoted. It's also the Dodgers too. The Dodgers generally don't promote, aggressively, right? But there is still a possibility that he can, and he might come up over Sirota. I wouldn't even be surprised. But I think that they're gonna keep him on the shelf for until probably the new year. There isn't room enough for the both of them too, so that's the other part that I feel like is there. So one or the other. I'm riding with Sirota because of age. DePaul is 21. I mean, having a phenomenal season, 21 home runs, 85 ribs, 89 runs, batting 315, absolutely crushing it. But, still only 21, only going to have to be added to the 40-man roster that at the end of the season, and he needs to be able to, produce on a glove standpoint and be able to field. And the fielding isn't hot for him. 20 out of 40 grade as a prospect report doesn't really bode well for him really just taking this step forward. I feel like also too he has a little bit of power to work on. I think there's another ceiling. I think best case scenario if he were to get called up tomorrow, he's kind of like a Jackson Churio. We're waiting for him to kind of really show out the power, which I think he has this year. And it might just be a little too soon. DePaul, I think, is like kind of like a season breaker than anything else. So I think that he's the one that's probably going to be not called up, but possibilities again 25%. Let's move on. So about Leo DeVeers, the Oakland Athletics. So think about DeVeers. Who I really like. He's like the number 2 or 3 prospect in baseball right now. Shortstop eligibility. He is a great talent by far. Only issue is 360 at bats and 13 home runs, 53 ribs and 62 runs, batting 292. Great season, but I feel like we're not seeing the power ceiling that we're expecting from the 19-year-old. And the only reason he's even in the conversation right now is because he plays for a team that gets aggressive with their prospects, right? Like they don't hesitate to call up, which is good for fantasy, right? Like why keep this player down? But I think with them, they're going to be protective. I did get to see him in the futures game too. Looked really good. But DeVeers is somebody that, I'm gonna probably not count on. If he gets called up, awesome. I'll add him and see where it takes me. But in the redraft leagues, I'm not really gonna care. I'll add him. If he doesn't really do much, he's dropped like he's hot. But next year is going to be a different conversation. But right now, DeVeers isn't really, cranking out some crazy power numbers, isn't, hitting 4 or 5 home runs in a single week to start getting the Athletics to get excited for him. So just don't think it's going to happen. Let's move on. So about Jesus Made. Um, he's another one I genuinely really like. Obviously, one of the best, you know, prospects in baseball. But again, another 19-year-old, somebody that, even though plays for another aggressive, you know, um, team, I just don't see how Made makes the team. Like straight up, like it's just not something I could truly see happen. Maybe 2 to 4%. He's exceptional, but he's just not doing enough. I feel Ryan Sloan. He is a pitching prospect for the Seattle Mariners. I like Sloan a lot. I think he's very talented. He has a couple knocks against him, and it's very simple. He doesn't have a lot of mileage on him. Literally right out of high school. Um, you know, most innings he's pitched in a single season was 82 and 25. This year's hitting 76. If he were to get called up for a cup of coffee, he's obviously going to exceed 82 innings. If anything, I think if Ryan gets the call, it's not going to be as a starter. If anything, if Seattle, who is competitive, might bring him into the bullpen. That'd be my expectation if he even gets the call. Why am I talking about him? Because one, he's a top pitching prospect. Two, there is a world where he might get a start or two just because they want to see what he's got. He's great stuff. Very good pitching prospect. Just curve your expectations. I apologize. But there is a world where more than likely he will be a closer or a middle relief. So don't get your hopes up. If he gets added, see what they're going to slot him in. If he's going to be a starter, I'd add him and start him. If he's not, don't touch him. Unless you need me play in those holds leagues, then I'm all about it. But I mentioned something regarding a listeners league, and I want to get into that, and I want to talk about something else too. If you ever wanted to play fantasy football against us, now you have your chance. We're launching Locked On Fantasy Baseball Listener League on Breakout Fantasy Sports, and we want you in it. Breakout is a brand new fantasy platform built to give leagues a modern, clean experience without needing to download another app. Everything works right in your browser, right? So your Safari or Chrome, whatever you use. We're looking for listeners to sign up, create leagues, and help us build this thing from the ground up as our founding league. So if you want, when you sign up, you'll have a chance to join our listener league and compete against us in this fantasy football season. And for some extra entries and for a spot in the listener league, share all of our posts from Locked On, right? So go to our personals, our podcast page, and share everything we post. Extra bonuses if you share anything from mine. Share Breakout Fantasy Sports with everyone. So head to breakoutfantasysports.com, sign up for free, and get your league before it fills up. That's breakoutfantasysports.com. And guys, that's really it for today. So please like, comment, rate, review. Do anything you can to share this show because we truly love bringing it to you each and every day. Check out Breakout Fantasy Sports and check out our boy Sully over at Locked On MLB. Puts on a great show. Give me real MLB coverage all season long. That being said, guys, peace out.